By morning, Kolu had done the impossible. He returned with a bag of tattered clothes, a second-hand bicycle, and a set of fake identity papers bearing the name Well Ogunlai. Sir, Kolu said hesitantly, I found a small one-room apartment in Ajigono. It's truly bad, sir. Perfect. He stripped off his designer suit and luxury wristwatch. In their place, he pulled on the ragged shirt and worn-out jeans that smelled faintly of dust and oil. His reflection in the mirror shocked even him. From this moment, he said softly, Adebayo Williams ceases to exist. The next day, Will rode into Ajigono on the old bicycle. When Will opened the door to his new house, the small, broken one Kolu had rented for him in Ajigono, the smell hit him first. Damp walls. Dust. The faint, sour odor of mold. This is home now, he said to himself. There was a single window, its frame eaten by rust, and a mattress that looked like it had survived the flood. The floor was rough cement. The ceiling leaked. The whole house looked like a madman had once lived there. He parked his bicycle beside a wooden kiosk and looked around. Inside, there was nothing but a single chair, a torn mattress, and a small kerosene stove. Will lived simply. He ate rice from street vendors, bathed from a plastic bucket, and fetched water from a nearby borehole. Every morning, he would wake up before sunrise, wear his torn shirt, and blend into the crowd heading to the bus stop. He took odd jobs cleaning mechanic workshops, unloading goods at the market, fixing old phones when he could. Nobody knew who he really was. He walked out of his old life with nothing but a small bag. By the third day, hunger was already knocking at his stomach. He realized quickly that surviving here required hustle, so he decided to do what the poor around him did, street vending. He took the little money he had brought and bought a small batch of goods, sachet water, soft drinks, and cheap biscuits. The kind hawkers sold at the roadside. He set up a small wooden table near the bus stop, beside a woman selling roasted corn and a man repairing shoes, but business was bad. People walked past him like he was invisible. His drink stayed warm under the hot sun. By afternoon, sweat drenched his shirt. His throat burned. She was a large, middle-aged woman with a hair tie so wide it could shade two people. Her wrapper was tied tightly around her waist. She stopped in front of his table, picked up one of the drinks, turned it around, and frowned.
This one don't expire,
she said, looking at the bottle.
It's still good, ma. I just bought it this morning.
He said politely.
You won't kill me. Look at you, dirty man like you. You fit even wash bottle before selling. You think say I don't get sense?
Ma, it's clean, I swear.
Before he could finish, she slapped him across the face. Look at you, poor man. You dey sell nonsense here. Now why una no go make money? All of una useless. She grabbed 2 bottles of drink and a pack of biscuits from his table. Madam, he said, please, you never pay. Pay what? For this rubbish. Excuse me, Ma, don't you have any shame? A young woman was walking toward them, tall, beautiful in the kind of simple way that made people stare twice. She wore a plain yellow dress that danced around her knees, her braids neatly packed into a bun. The older woman snapped.
Who be you? You dey talk to me.
Yes, I'm talking to you. You took that man's goods without paying. Return them.
The young woman said, her tone calm but strong. The older woman adjusted her wrapper, clearly irritated.
You dey mad. Who send you na your papa goods?
Whether he's my father or not doesn't matter. You took what doesn't belong to you. That's stealing, Ma. Didn't your mother teach you that?
What? You dey insult me. You dey call me thief. These small girls of nowadays, no home training. You no fear gray hair.
Respect is earned, not forced. You just slapped a man old enough to be your son and took his thing.
The older woman hissed loudly, clearly embarrassed by the growing attention.
I beg, take your useless drinks. I don't even need them.
She said finally, throwing the bottles back on the table. She turned and stomped off, muttering curses as she disappeared. Will stood there speechless. He turned to the young woman. "Thank you," he said quietly. She smiled. "You don't have to thank me. Wrong is wrong. Some people think they can treat others badly just because they look poor." She looked down at his scattered goods and started helping him arrange them back neatly on the table. Will stood there, still speechless. His cheek burned faintly from the slap. He didn't mind the dust or the stares from passers-by. Her movements were calm, like someone used to doing good without needing to be thanked. When she finished arranging the table, she opened her small purse, an old leather one, faded from use, and counted out a few naira notes. Will watched her for a while, unsure what to say. He wanted to thank her, but the words felt too small compared to what she had just done. "How much for the drinks?" she asked softly. "Oh, no, Ma. You don't need to." I said how much. She repeated, smiling slightly. He hesitated, then mumbled the price. She bought 2 bottles of soft drink, a pack of biscuits, and a small sachet of groundnuts. "Keep the change," she said. Will blinked in surprise. The change was more than the cost of what she had bought. "No. I can't." "Take it," she said. "You need it for your next batch of stock. Business is not easy here." Will nodded slowly and accepted the money. For a moment, he forgot the heat, the dust, the noise of downfalls honking and hawkers shouting prices. Everything around him blurred into background as he stared at her. She opened one of the bottles, took a sip, and smiled faintly. "You'll be fine," she said. "Just don't let people treat you like you're nothing." He didn't even know her name. She didn't wait for him to argue or even say thank you. She just smiled. When she turned to leave that night, Will sat in his small, broken room, staring at the wall. He hadn't eaten much that day. But he didn't feel hungry. For the first time in weeks, his heart felt full. He thought of her face, the kindness in her eyes, the way she spoke without fear, how she defended him when everyone else looked away. No one had ever done that for him. Not even when he was rich. The next morning, he went back to his little table earlier than usual. He cleaned the bottles carefully, wiped the biscuits with a dry cloth, and arranged them neatly. All day, he waited. Every time someone in a yellow dress passed, he looked up. But it was never her. Days passed. Business improved slightly. People had begun to notice him. Some pitied him, some respected him. The woman selling roasted corn now kept 1 cob aside for him each evening. The shoemaker beside him sometimes gave him cold sachet water for free. Then, on the 5th day, she came again. She wasn't wearing yellow this time. Her dress was blue, simple but clean, and she carried a small basket filled with bread and more. She bought some drinks again, and this time she refused to take her change. She told him quietly that she wanted to support his business. "You're still here," she said. "Where else will I be?" He replied. She laughed softly and handed him one of the more wraps. "Eat. You look like you haven't eaten since yesterday." Will hesitated, then accepted it. "Thank you. You're kind." "It's not kindness," she said, her voice gentle. "It's what life should be. We help each other, or we all fall." Then she stayed. Stood beside him and started talking about life. She told him she lived not far away in a small face me I face you compound. Her name was Chioma, and she sold bread in the mornings and evenings to help her mother and siblings survive. Her father had died when she was 15, leaving her mother with nothing but debts. Chioma worked hard, but she never complained. She hawked more from morning to evening. She woke before dawn every day to cook with her mother. Then walked from street to street under the sun to sell. He nodded slowly, touched by her words. And how she now sold bread to support her mother and two younger siblings. She didn't see poverty as shame. She carried it like a badge of survival. Whenever Will looked at her, he saw something rare, a kind of beauty that had nothing to do with looks, but with strength. She reminded him of everything he had forgotten. As the days turned to weeks, Chioma's kindness only deepened. She began bringing him food when she noticed he was eating less. Some days, it was jollof rice wrapped in nylon. Other times, fried plantain with stew or akara with pap. She never made a big deal out of it. She would just drop the food gently and say, "Eat before it gets cold." Then she'd move on to attend to her customers. Sometimes, when he sold nothing, she would quietly buy more than she needed, pretending she had customers waiting. Will began to notice the small things about her, how she always greeted the blind beggar near the bus stop by name, how she gave coins to children hawking sachet water, how she stayed to help the roasted corn woman pack up her stall at night. She had nothing, yet she gave like someone who had everything. One evening, Will's business was slow. He hadn't eaten all day. Chioma came by, noticed his tired eyes, and said nothing. She opened her basket, took out 2 loaves of bread, and pushed one toward him. He wanted to refuse, but she simply smiled that soft smile again and began eating hers. So he joined her. In the coming days, Chioma continued helping him without ever expecting anything in return. When his stock ran low, she introduced him to her supplier, a kind woman who sold goods at wholesale prices. When he fell sick for 2 days, she stayed by his stall, watching over his things so no one would steal. When he recovered, he found his table arranged neater than ever, his small money safe under a biscuit tin, and a note she had left behind, "Get well soon." One day, as he was packing up, he saw her helping a crippled man who had fallen from his wheelchair. She didn't care that her dress got dirty or that her hands were covered in dust. She lifted him, cleaned his face, and gave him money for food. People watched, but no one moved to help. Only Chioma did. That night, Will couldn't stop thinking about her. For the first time in his life, someone saw him not for his money, not for his name, but for the person he was underneath it all. That night, Will couldn't stop thinking about her. He lay on the thin mattress, his hands behind his head, staring into the shadows. The image of Chioma wouldn't leave his mind. He remembered her yellow dress that first day and how she stood up for him when no one else did. Chioma didn't just give him food. She gave him something more valuable, peace. Before he knew it, dawn had arrived. The rooster crowed somewhere far off, and the first rays of sunlight crept into his room. He rose, bathed from his plastic bucket, and sat quietly by the window, waiting for the world to wake. Children loved her. They ran to her whenever she passed, calling her Auntie Chioma. She always had something for them, a piece of bread. Sometimes, when she wasn't selling, she would visit a small orphanage near the end of the road. It wasn't much, but Chioma always went there. She carried food, clothes, or money, even if it was only a little. She said children shouldn't grow up thinking the world was cruel. He wanted to tell her everything. He wanted to tell her who he really was, that he wasn't just a hawker, that the name Well Ogunlai was a lie, that he wasn't who she thought, that he wasn't just some poor street vendor struggling to survive. He was Chief Adebayo Williams, Lagos's tech and real estate sectors, a self-made billionaire whose network spanned continents, owner of multiple estates across Lagos and Abuja, and the heir to a fortune that once controlled more than half of the city's supply chains. But all of that meant nothing now. Not compared to her. He wanted to find something real, someone real, and now that he had, he was terrified of losing it, that he was once Adebayo Williams, one of the richest men in Lagos. But every time he tried, the words got stuck in his throat. He didn't want to ruin what they had. For the first time, someone liked him for his heart, not his money. One afternoon, Chioma came to his stall carrying a bag. She looked tired. Her hair wrapped in a scarf. "You look worn out." "What happened?" Well said. "It's nothing. Mama's been sick. I spent the night watching her. But she's stronger now." Wale's heart tightened. He wanted to offer help, to tell her he could afford a doctor, 10 doctors if needed, but he couldn't. He was supposed to be a poor man. "Don't worry, she will be healed, thank you." The next day, she didn't come. Nor the day after. By the third day, Will couldn't sit still. He asked around, and someone told him that Chioma's mother had been rushed to a clinic nearby. Without thinking twice, he closed his stall and went straight there. He found Chioma sitting outside the small, crowded clinic. Her hands folded in her lap, her eyes red from crying. When she saw him, she managed a weak smile. He sat beside her. He didn't ask questions. When the nurse came out asking for payment to continue treatment, Will excused himself quietly, went behind the building, and called Kolu, his assistant, for the first time in months. That evening, the clinic miraculously received a donation envelope. The nurses said it came from an anonymous person who wanted to help a Momwo seller named Chioma. By morning, Chioma's mother had the medicine she needed. Chioma never knew the truth. She only told Will the next day, God had sent an angel. He simply nodded and said, "Yes. God has many ways." She began helping more people than before. She taught small children to read in the evenings. She helped an old woman fix her leaking roof. She organized the women at the market to clean the area every Sunday. Sometimes, when Will walked her home, he'd see the way neighbors waved at her. Her children ran to hug her. It amazed him that one person could touch so many hearts without even trying. Chioma became his reason to stay in Ajigono. One day, heavy rain began without warning. Traders rushed to cover their goods. Will had no umbrella, and his small table was soon soaked. Then, out of nowhere, Chioma appeared. She had been on her way home but turned back when she saw him struggling. She helped him carry everything into a small shed, getting drenched in the process. Her dress clung to her skin, her hair dripping, but she didn't care. That night, she fell ill. Fever. Will panicked. When he learned she couldn't afford medicine, he left again and returned an hour later with everything she needed. Weeks later, when she recovered, she visited his store with something in her hands, a hand-sewn shirt made from old fabric. "I notice you wear the same thing every day," she said. "So I made this. It's not perfect, but it's from me." "Thank you," he said. She smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're welcome. You haven't told me about your life." Where's your family? You live alone. I'm just a young struggling boy, he said, forcing a small smile. My parents died when I was 10. So, I had to hustle to survive. My God, I'm so sorry about that. Don't worry. It happened a long time ago. I'm used to it now. Don't say that. Nobody should ever get used to pain. You deserve care, well. Don't worry. I will always take care of you. You are a good man. I thought all men were liars and wicked, but you changed that. Before he could say anything, she hugged him, then she realized what she'd done. Her cheeks flushed as she pulled back suddenly, her eyes wide and flustered. Sorry about that, she said. He wanted to laugh, to tell her she had nothing to be sorry for. But his throat was dry, and all he could manage was a small smile. Chioma. He said, I wanted to tell you something. What? I'm in love with you. I love you too. Chioma looked down, blushing deeply. Her fingers nervously twisted the edge of her dress. I didn't mean to say it like that, she murmured, but it's true. You've been different. You've been kind, gentle, real. I feel safe when I'm with you. He reached out and held her hand. Chioma, he said, you've given me something I thought I'd lost long ago, peace. I don't have much to give, but I promise you, as long as I breathe, I'll never let you feel alone. She told him how she wanted to open a small bakery one day to help her mother rest from all the stress.